ever heard of a reggae star who ended up being called the most dangerous man in Britain?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a wild story.
Yeah.
So today,
I'm intrigued already.
we are diving deep into the life of Ranking Dread, a man who's really shrouded in contradictions.
Yeah.
We've got excerpts from his Wikipedia page
Okay.
to sort of guide us,
Okay.
but it's more like a puzzle with like missing pieces
Yeah.
than a straightforward story.
Yeah. What's striking is just that stark contrast. You know, you've got vibrant reggae music on one side, and then you have these serious criminal allegations on the other.
Right.
So where do we even begin to unpack a life like that?
Exactly. It's almost like we're trying to solve a mystery here.
Yeah.
Was he a cunning manipulator?
Right.
Hiding behind this musical persona? Or was there something more to the story? Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Winston Brown, born in Jamaica, finds his voice on the raised symbolic sound system.
Okay.
Now, for those unfamiliar with reggae culture,
Mm.
sound systems were everything. They were like the breeding grounds for new talent,
Yeah.
the heart and soul of the scene.
Absolutely. And for Ranking Dread to rise within that world, I mean, that says something about his talent and charisma.
Right.
It's not easy to stand out in that environment.
Not at all.
It's very competitive.
So then he makes the move to London in the late 70s, right when reggae is exploding there.
Wow.
He even ends up working with Lloyd Coxone's sound system,
Oh,
a legendary name in reggae.
huge.
Imagine the energy and the excitement of that time.
I know. Can you imagine?
It seems like he was on this like perfect path to success.
Yeah, he was riding that wave. You know, he's releasing albums like Girls Fiesta,
Yeah.
Lots of Loving, even titles that kind of hint at this like playful, even romantic side.
Yeah.
And then there's Kunta Kinte Roots, a nod to his Jamaican heritage, and a much more serious theme.
Right.
Do you think these two sides of Ranking Dread, the entertainer and the man grappling with identity, were ever truly separate?
Yeah.
Or were they always intertwined?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to complicate things further, he drops this catchy single, Fattie Boom Boom, which becomes a minor hit in the UK.
Okay.
Have you ever heard it?
I can't say that I have.
It's got this really infectious energy,
Okay.
a real party vibe.
Interesting.
But this catchy tune masked a looming storm in Ranking Dread's life.
Wow. Oh.
By the mid-1980s, the music fades and the allegations start piling up.
Okay.
Suddenly, he's branded the most dangerous man in Britain,
Wow.
even Yardie Godfather.
Now, those labels, especially Yardie, those were loaded with prejudice and fear.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
So we have this talented artist on one side and then this image of a criminal mastermind on the other.
Right.
Were those labels rooted in reality?
Yeah.
Or were they fueled by something more sinister?
It's crucial to remember the social and political climate of the time.
Yeah.
The UK was grappling with racial tensions,
Uh-huh.
economic anxieties, a rise in gang violence. Jamaican immigrants in particular were often scapegoated and stereotyped.
Right.
So it's possible that Ranking Dread, with his rising fame and undeniable charisma, you know, became a target,
Right.
a symbol of those anxieties.
So we're already seeing how context shapes perception.
Right.
Ranking Dread's story isn't just about one man.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a clash of cultures,
Yeah,
a struggle for identity, and the power of labels to define a person's fate.
it's true.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like we're peeling back layers of a complex onion here.
Yeah,
And with each layer, the story gets more intriguing.
right.
So let's dig into those accusations a bit deeper.
Okay.
What were the specific charges against him?
Well, the details get a bit murky here.
Okay.
We know that he was deported from the UK in 1988 for illegal activities.
Okay.
Specifically, it involved an illegal drinking club and possession of drugs.
Okay.
But then there's this ominous label, the most dangerous foreign national living in Britain.
Right.
It's a pretty loaded statement, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it raises the question, was this label based on concrete evidence?
Yeah.
Or was it more about perception and fear-mongering?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
The media at the time often portrayed Ranking Dread as this powerful figure in the criminal underworld,
Right.
linked to Jamaican gangs and even violence.
Uh-huh.
But remember, these were allegations, not convictions.
Right.
It's vital to separate what was reported from what was proven in a court of law.
Right. And it makes you wonder if his association with figures like Claude Massop, a Jamaican gang leader, wanted for numerous murders,
Yeah.
if that fueled that perception.
Undoubtedly, that connection played a role.
Yeah.
Guilt by association is a powerful force,
Right.
especially when you're dealing with these complex criminal networks and
Right.
sensationalized media coverage.
Right.
But it's important to note that Ranking Dread always maintained his innocence.
He did.
Even in a 1990 Canadian TV interview,
Okay.
he claimed he was being unfairly targeted and that the authorities were building a case based on speculation and prejudice.
So we're left with these two conflicting narratives.
Yeah.
The official account painting him as this dangerous criminal,
Right.
and then his own insistence that he was a victim of circumstance.
Right.
It's a classic he said, she said situation,
It is.
but with much higher stakes.
Precisely. And it's precisely this ambiguity that makes this deep dive so compelling.
Right.
We're not dealing with clear-cut heroes and villains,
Yeah.
but rather with complex individuals navigating a system that might have been predisposed to view them with suspicion.
Right. It makes you think about the power dynamics at play, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Here you have this Jamaican immigrant already facing potential prejudice, and then these allegations surface, further marginalizing him within the larger society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crucial to consider the historical context here. The
Yeah.
UK in the 70s and 80s was grappling with a lot of social unrest,
Yeah.
economic anxieties, and racial tensions.
Immigrant communities, especially those from former colonies, were often seen as outsiders,
Yeah.
easy targets for blame and suspicion.
So his story becomes intertwined with this larger narrative about immigration, identity, and the struggle for acceptance within a society that might not be fully ready to embrace difference.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
And it adds another layer of complexity to this already multifaceted story.
Right.
We're not just talking about one man's alleged criminal activities.
Yeah.
We're talking about the systemic forces that might have contributed to his downfall.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle
Yeah.
of missing pieces.
Yeah.
We have these glimpses into his life, the music, the accusations, the denials,
Right.
but we may never know the complete truth.
It's true.
What happens next in this international saga?
Well, after his deportation from the UK, Ranking Dread's life becomes this whirlwind of international intrigue.
Oh, wow.
He's deported from the U.S. in 1990.
And then just a year later, he's arrested in Canada for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend.
Wow.
Imagine the legal battles, the constant movement, the struggle to find a place to call home.
It's almost as if he was constantly running, trying to outrun those labels that had been attached to him.
Yeah.
Did he ever find any sense of stability or peace?
Unfortunately, his attempts to evade those accusations only seemed to solidify the narrative that had been constructed around him.
Right.
In Canada, he even tried to claim refugee status,
Wow.
arguing that he feared for his life if he were sent back to Jamaica.
Wow. Claiming refugee status is a serious move
It is.
that suggests he truly believed his life was in danger.
Right.
What was the basis for that fear?
Well,
Was he worried about retaliation from former associates, or did he feel threatened by law enforcement?
that's where the details get a bit hazy.
Okay.
We don't have access to all the legal documents or personal testimonies from that time. But it's clear that Ranking Dread felt trapped, caught between these accusations and his own insistence that he was being unjustly targeted.
So he's fighting deportation,
Yeah.
claiming refugee status,
Right.
insisting on his innocence.
Yeah.
It paints a picture of a man desperate for a chance to clear his name.
Absolutely.
Did the Canadian authorities believe him?
Unfortunately, his attempts to escape those labels proved futile.
Okay.
His refugee claim was ultimately denied,
Okay.
and he was extradited back to Jamaica in 1994.
That must have been a crushing blow.
Yeah.
To be sent back to the very place he claimed to fear for his life.
It's a tragic turn of events.
It is.
And sadly, the story doesn't end there.
Oh, no.
Just 2 years later, in 1996, Ranking Dread died in prison in Jamaica.
What a heartbreaking end to such a turbulent life.
It is.
It's like this cycle of accusations and escapes ultimately led him back to where it all began.
Right.
But even in death, the questions linger.
They do.
Was he truly a dangerous criminal?
Yeah.
Or was he, as he claimed, a victim of circumstance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one that we might never be able to answer definitively.
Right.
We've examined the evidence.
Mhm.
We've explored the social context,
Yeah.
considered the complexities of his life.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're left with this cloud of ambiguity.
It's a reminder that sometimes the truth is elusive. We try to categorize people, to label them as good or bad.
Right.
But real life is rarely so black and white.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the key takeaways from this deep dive into the life of Ranking Dread.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of hasty judgments, the power of perception, and the importance of seeking understanding even when faced with these conflicting narratives.
It's also a reminder that every story has multiple layers,
Right.
and every individual is more than the sum of their labels.
Absolutely.
We should approach each other with a bit more empathy,
Yeah.
recognizing that there's often more to the story than what meets the eye.
I couldn't agree more. Ranking Dread's story is a testament to the complexities of human nature, the enduring power of labels, and the need for nuanced conversations about crime, immigration, and identity.
Yeah,
It's a story that challenges us to think critically,
right.
to question our assumptions,
Yeah.
and to approach complex issues with an open mind and a compassionate heart.
And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
If you had the chance to sit down with Ranking Dread,
Yeah.
what would you ask him?
Mm-hmm.
What would you want to know about the man behind the music and the controversy?
Good question.
Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating deep dive into the unknown.